Hi, got a fun one for you today. We're going way back to 1978 for some classic Judas Priest. Let's learn how to play Hell Bent for Leather on guitar. The intro to Hell Bent for Leather is really straightforward. We just do a series of chromatic power chords starting on open E and work our way up one fret at a time. So go to your F on the first fret and one power chord per measure all the way up to the 5th fret where we start slowing down, and then we come back down to the 1st fret F and end on an E power chord. Okay? And then we get into our main riff. We start by putting our 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the D string. So that's an A. And we're gonna be bouncing off of a palm muted open A. So we just have 2 A's there, octaves apart. We start with 1 palm mute on the open A, and then up to that 3rd finger on the 7th fret. And just palm mute the open A's, take your palm mute off for everything else. So palm mute the open A, hit the 7th fret on the D string, 2 palm mutes on the open A, 7th fret, 2 more palm mutes on that open A, and then bar the 5th fret on the D and G strings. So there's our first measure, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then getting into our second measure, we're gonna palm mute the A one more time, bar the 7th fret on the D and the G, back to 2 more palm mutes on the A, and then bar the 5th fret again on the D and the G, but use your 2nd finger to then hammer onto the 6th fret of the G string. Come down to the D string and pull off between 7 to 5. And there's our first half of the riff. Okay, the second half of the riff starts off the exact same as the first, that first measure. Okay, and then we end this a little bit different. We pull off between 7 to 5 on the D string, hit an open A, then pull off between 3 and open on the A string. Hop up an octave to the 2nd fret of the G string, that's another A. And there's our whole riff, nice and slow. And that's the first guitar. In the intro, there's a second guitar that comes in underneath that just to really give some accents at the end of the riff. You hear a couple of power chords there. It's a C on the 3rd fret of the A string, down a half step to B, and an open A. So to put that into context where those power chords would be, it would be look like this. Okay, so if you have a second guitar in the band, if you're playing it with somebody, they can put those power chords in for accents. And then that's also the verse riff, so then we can get into our pre-chorus. The pre-chorus is mostly playing around with a D power chord. So we're gonna go up to the 5th fret of the A string and get your D power chord. And now this might be a little bit tricky at first, but what we wanna do is make sure your bar is across the 5th frets of the A, D, and G string. So you're actually gonna be barring across those 3 strings, because what we wanna do is be able to pull off from the 7th frets to the barred 5th frets. So what we do is we start off by hitting the 5th fret of our A string, and then those 7th frets that we have, pull off to the barred 5th frets, hit your 5th fret on the A string again, and back to the 7th frets. So that first bar. Okay, the second bar, we again repeat our 7 to 5 pull-offs, come down to the 5th fret, then hit the barred D and G 5th frets, back to the 7th frets. So those first two measures. Okay, the third measure, we're gonna again pull off between the 7 and 5s, down to the D on the A string, and back to the 7s. And then on our fourth measure, we're gonna pull off between the 7 and 5s, come back down here to a C power chord and hit that twice. Make that first one a little bit short, where you release the pressure. I put my hand down as well. Okay, so the first half of our pre-chorus goes like this. Getting into the second half of the riff, the first two bars are the same as the first half, so we'll just do that. And then the second half, we get into this little chromatic. Okay, so what that is we're gonna start off by pulling off from the 7 to 5, the same as we've been doing. But now we're gonna shift up to the next power chord half a step up, and we're gonna hit the 6th fret, pull off between what would be the 8 and 6 frets now. Again, move up to the 7th fret, and end on the 9th fret. So it's just a quick little chromatic thing. And then we jump up all the way to the 10th fret, hit that 3 times. Okay? And then we're down to our A power chord where we're gonna start our chorus. So the whole pre-chorus, nice and slow, goes like this. Thanks for watching this Judas Priest guitar lesson. I hope you're getting a lot out of it. I'd love it if you could help me out and drop some song suggestions in the comments below. And then don't forget to like and subscribe so you can learn all your favorite tunes with complete tab. Now let's get back to this Hellbent for Leather guitar lesson. In the chorus, we have a lot of syncopation. We're going to be accenting a lot of upbeats, and we start off with that too, an open A power chord, which is on the upbeat of 4, 3, 4, and. Okay, and then we start just almost 2 full measures of just a palm muted open A. So we go 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and then so on that end of 4, on the very last 8th note of the second measure, we have a G, the 3rd fret of the low string. And then we're really just doing arpeggio figures here. So we start with the 3rd fret on the low string, and then go 2, 5 on the A string. Then we start our next arpeggio with a 3 on that A string, and then go 2, 5 on the D string. Then we fall down to the 1st fret of the low string, open A, open D, down to the G again, and then open D, open A. And then we can repeat it. So that's the chorus riff. So here we go, nice and slow. Now, the first time that the chorus plays, we have to get out of it into a verse. So what we're actually going to do on the album, there's a tied note. So if we were to look at that last arpeggio figure and flow into the next verse, it's going to go like this. Okay, so it's just a quick little tie there where you don't play that very first 8th note of the verse. That final 8th note of the chorus is just tied over. And then the next chorus, we have to get out of that into what we'll call the bridge section. So to get into the bridge, it would look like this. And that bridge is the exact same thing that we played in the intro. The only difference is that we're going to play 2 E's at the end. So we go through all of this again. Chromatic up to the 5th fret. back down to the first fret, open E, and then we're just gonna tack this on at the end when we hit our open E. And we slide up to an E on the 7th fret of the A string. And you really want to hear that slide as well. So it's right on beat 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So just really dig in and get that slide audible like it is on the album. And that's the only difference between the bridge sections and what we played in the intro. And now let's get into what we're going to play underneath the solo. The rhythm underneath the solo is probably the simplest rhythm stuff that we have in this song. So we're going to start off by just ringing some power chords. So grab an open A, and we're going to ring it for 2 whole measures, all the way up to E power chord on the 7th fret of the A string, and ring that for 2 measures, down to G, 3rd fret of the low string, ring that for 2 measures, and then up to D, 5th fret of the A string, and ring that for 2 measures. And then we get into where the solo picks up a little bit, and it's just the same rhythmic figure the whole way. We just do 8 measures of the same thing. So we start with an open A power chord, and then just chug 2 and 3 and 4 on that open string, A, and then hit another A power chord on the end of 4. So it's just A through the whole rest of the solo here. And the only thing you have to be aware of is that first measure, we start right on the downbeat of 1. 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and 1. So we just miss the downbeat of 1 after that. We start on the downbeat of 1, and then it's a syncopation for the next 8 measures there until the section's done. The final measure, the 8th measure, you don't put in the power chord at the end, you just do straight 8th notes on the A string, 2 and 3 and 4, and then we get into our bridge section again, where we do those chromatic power chords. And we've already covered that. So let's just cover the outro when we've done all the rhythm parts, and then we can do the lead. The outro is just a little bit of a tag tacked onto the chorus riff. So we do our arpeggios, and then hit the E power chord, and then 2 to open on the D string, to a C power chord, which is the 3rd fret of the A string, and then we repeat the C power chord down to the 2nd fret, back up to C, repeat the C, down to the 2nd fret, up to the 5th fret D, repeat D, hit the G on the bottom string, and then A. Okay, so there's quite a bit of jumping around there at the end. So nice and slow is going to look like this. And just let that ring out for a bit, and there's all the rhythm parts to Hell Bent for Leather. Let's learn the lead guitar solo. The solo starts off with some very Van Halen kind of Eruption-esque tapping. However, if you've ever tried to play Eruption, this is much easier than that. It actually seems to be going at a snail's pace compared to Eruption, so no worries. Just one little note about that. I have seen Glenn Tipton playing this on the G string, but that seems to be in later years. Maybe he doesn't want to stretch as much anymore, but you could take your pick. You can also relocate all these notes to the G string, but I'm pretty sure the original recording was on the B string, so that's where I'm going to show it to you. Okay, so what we're doing is we're going to be tapping the 17th fret, and then we're going to be fretting the 10th and the 13th. So tap the 17th, and then pull off to the 10th fret, hammer onto the 13th fret. And we're going to do 2 measures of that. It's triplets. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Now we do 1 measure of just moving our 3rd finger down to hit the 12th fret instead. So just do 1 measure of that. Now we'll move our 1st finger down to the 9th fret. So we have 9, 12, and 17, and we do 1 measure of that. And then we move our 1st finger down 1 more time. So we have a bigger stretch there. And if you feel comfortable just using fingers 1, 3, again, you can just keep doing that, but you can also shift to fingers 1 and 4 if you want, but we just do 1 measure of that. And then we shift this hand down to 7 and 10 and do 1 measure of that. And now to wrap this tapping section up, we move our tapping finger down to the 15th fret and we go 15, 7, and 10. And we do this, it's kind of a funny timing. We want to go 1 triplet, 2 E and a 3. 1 triplet, 2 E and a, so that we pull off right on beat 3. Okay, and then at the end of that, you want to dip your bar a little bit. And then we get up to the 17th position, and we're going to start by hitting the 17th fret on the high string, and then bend the 20th fret of the B string, a whole step. So we have matching A notes there, a unison bending, right? So yeah, 17 and 20. We're going to repeat the 20th bend, and then we're going to snag the G string and release that. So when you play the 20th fret bend on the B string, allow the G string to slip underneath that finger so that when you pick the G string, it's already fretted, and then you can just release it. Now, my trick for keeping that clean is when I pick the G string, I allow my pick to fall through. So I pick the G string with an upstroke, and I allow my pick to fall through and rest up against the D string, and I find that that keeps everything nice and clean. And then we're going to hit the 17th fret on the high string and bend that 20th fret 1 more time. And now on the recording, there's a bit of a dead string, like a kind of a dead sound, as he jumps up to the 20th fret on the high string. And then he does a little coming into beat 1 on the 3rd measure there. So we hit that 20th fret on the high string, and then legato down to 19 and 17, down to 19 on the B string, back up to the 17th fret of the high string. So far our opening measure sounds like this. And then we take the 19th fret of the B string and we bend it a half a step and release it down to the 17th fret. And then we come up to the 20th fret and pull off to 17 down to the 19th fret of the G string. And then do a 17, 20, 17 hammer pull. And then we're going to go back up to 20, hit that twice, down to 19 on the G string. And then we're going to do a little grindy bend here. We just take the 19th fret, just a little half a step bend, and ring that together with the 17th fret of the B string. And then we want to get the 17th fret on the B string coming down to the 17th fret of the G string. Okay, so all together, those 4 measures sound like this. So with that last note on the 17th fret, fall down, and we're going to get into 8th position, where we hit the 8th fret on our high string, then the 10th fret on our B string, and bend it a half a step, back to the 8th fret of the high string, and then bend our 11th fret on the B string. But on the recording, again, there's a pinch harmonic there. So experiment along that string and get a pinch harmonic and release it. Okay, and then we want to get to our next phrase. We're going to hammer pull from 17 and 8 on the B string. So hammer and then pull back onto the 7, 8, 7. Slide down to 5. And then pick these notes, 7, 5, coming down to the G string, 7, 5. Okay, now we slide that last note again, 2. And getting into our last phrase, fast legato lick. So what we're gonna do is go to the B string and pull off 5, 4, 3. Come down to the G string, 5, 4. Okay, so there's a bit of a position shift there. Really cool little move. Okay, so 5, 4, 3 on the B string, 5, 4 on the G string, and then coming down to the D string, 7. So that's triplets, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, and then repeat that 5 to 4 on the G string, and 7 on the D string. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 and okay, so then we want to do this. We go 5, 7, 5, 4 on the D string. Okay, so there's one measure. And then we go 5, 4 on the D string, coming down to the 7th fret of the A string. And then we go 4 on the D string to 5 and 7, do a 5 to 7 hammer on the A string. And then 3, 5, 3 hammer pull on the A string. Come down to 2, 3, and slide up to 7. So there's that whole phrase. That's probably the trickiest little thing, besides you might have to work on some of these bends that we start with. But this little run slowed down looks like this. Okay, and then we just let that ring for 2 measures. And then we hit a 7th fret harmonic on the D string. So lightly rest your finger over top of the 7th fret wire on the D string and just pluck that and let that ring. Now he slowly starts to get more aggressive with the bar. You pluck it and you just start off by going, you know, like 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And he's just kind of tapping along on the beat. And then he starts speeding up to more 8th notes. And then he just gradually grabs the bar and gets a little crazier with it. So it's kind of like... And he starts doing that. And then after we've held that out for the whole bridge section, we just want to... So I create that noise by just doing a quick slide on the D and the G strings. Just slide up super quick, and then you get that kind of a motor sound, right? And then you want to dip your bar, and then finish off just by doing a random slide back up. Just like that. And there's the solo. So have fun with that. You now know how to play Hellbent for Leather by Judas Priest. Once again, thanks for joining me on this Judas Priest guitar lesson, guys. I hope that cleared up all the questions that you might have on Hellbent for Leather. Don't forget those song suggestions in the comments, and like, subscribe. I'll see you next time.